Baby, you ask me sometimes with that small, dangerous curiosity in your eyes, when did I first fall for you? And I have kept the answer like a prayer folded into my pocket, always warm, never shown. Tonight I will lay it all out for you like an offering, because you deserve the truth without the gilded edges, because your heart has earned a map of how mine came to be so hopelessly, irrevocably yours. From the very first hello, from the very first time your voice brushed past my name like a breeze through a prayer flag, something ancient inside me recognized the rhythm of your soul. It was almost ridiculous how sudden it was. A single syllable of your laughter lit a light inside that had been dim for years, and that light did not flicker. It anchored. There are moments in a man's life that arrive like lightning and change the geography of his world. Meeting you was one of those storms. My life before you feels like a different language I once spoke badly. The grammar is there, but the music is missing. The moment I saw you, baby, the language rearranged itself into your name. I don't remember the exact weather, the exact street, the exact coffee cup in your hand. Those are small things. What I remember is the way your presence rearranged my bones into a better man. I remember my breath learning how to pause and then how to return, because it had found its reason to continue. Baby, I fell in love not because you filled a space, but because you revealed a continent I never knew existed inside me. You taught my heart to be curious again, and in that curiosity I found 1,000 new ways to worship you, with silence and with foolish words. You made my ordinary days sacred. Where once I kept my best parts hidden like contraband, you made it safe again to be tender. There is a humility in loving you that I did not plan for, a soft surrender that feels like knelt prayer. I confess now, unabashed, I am undone by the small betrayals of your smile, by the honest tremor in your hands when you tell me something brave, by the way you call me out and then forgive me in the same breath. I fell for you in slow, impossible spirals that felt like a destiny being carved in the marrow of my life. Do you know that sometimes I wake in the night and trace the outline of our future in my mind, like a map I am finally brave enough to follow? I see a home with your laughter threaded through its corners. I see a table crowded with voices that include ours, and the names of children that I already keep safe in my imagination. This is not fanciful dreaming. It's the gravity of what you have done to me, baby. Turn my imagined life into a porch I can almost touch. There is regret that sits beside love in me, baby, and it is honest and heavy. Regret is not a poison in my veins. It is a teacher. I sometimes want to strangle, but instead I have learned to listen. I regret the times I let fear sculpt my actions, the nights I chose pride over apology, the moments I gave silence wings when your heart needed my voice. If I could go back and rewrite those pages, I would do so on my knees. But there is also grace in regret, because it forces me to be better for you. I will carry the memory of my mistakes like a lantern that shows me where not to step again. I beg you to hold my past, not as an accusation, but as evidence of my learning. The truth is, baby, love alone is not enough. It must be joined by courage and humility. I promise you this. Every regret I have becomes fuel for the man I am shaping for you. Every apology is a stone laid on the road I will walk to keep your hand. Family too has a role in this confession. I know that your world came with names, with rituals, with histories that do not dissolve because I wish them away. My love for you respects the branches that formed you. I honor your mother's eyes in your face, your father's silences in your pauses, the gentle ironies of the home that made you. I do not arrive to replace, I arrive to add. I want to learn the language of your family, the secret songs they hum at night, the unspoken rules that keep them safe. I will be tender with those rules. I will be careful with your memories, because to love you is to love also the people who first loved you into being, and that devotion must be gentle, patient, and earned. There is surrender in the way I adore you, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of a soldier laying down arms because war has become unnecessary. When I stand before you, I am not asking to be seen as perfect. I am asking only to be known. I surrender the parts of me that demand to be right, the parts that cling to certainty like a blanket in winter. With you, I have learned that surrender is not loss. It is the clearing of space for what is true. It has taught me to trust the slow unfolding of us, to accept that love is not a checkpoint to cross, but a landscape we walk together, sometimes barefoot. Destiny, baby, whispers to me in the small rituals of our days. When my hand finds yours in a crowded room and time loosens its grip, when we laugh at the same stupid memory and bend the world into an inside joke only we remember, destiny is speaking. It is not the cruel kind that steals or punishes, but the kind that guides. The invisible hand that arranged the threads so they would meet. I believe there are seasons to everything. I believe there is a divine timing that is kinder than my impatience. I do not pretend to understand the architecture of fate, but I have learned to befriend it. I have learned to say yes to what is asked of us at the right hour, to patience, to hard conversations, to the daily chores of being human together. Transformation came with loving you, baby, like the slow and holy alchemy of iron into something that holds light. You have been the catalyst for my changes. Under your eyes I have been refined. Where I once guarded my heart with calluses, your love has melted them without violence. You have held up mirrors to me and asked me to look, not to flinch, but to learn. I am not the man I was when we first met. That does not mean I am finished. I am a work in progress whose blueprint has been rewritten by you. There are days I falter, days my old habits rise like tides, but then your voice becomes the lighthouse, and I steer toward it. I will not promise perfection. I will promise persistence. I will promise work, the messy, honest kind, because anything worth keeping requires tending. Some people say love is effortless. They are quoting the early chapters, not the whole book. Real love, the kind that lasts, is stubborn. It shows up even when it is inconvenient. It honors agreements. It sits with pain instead of running from it. It chooses again and again. I choose you, baby, every single day, and I find in that choosing a holiness that steadies me. There are nights I pray for our future, the way other men pray for victory, with all my breath and all my fear mingled into one petition. I do not ask the universe to grant me wealth or fame. I ask it for the simple sanctities, the protection of your laughter, the safety of your sleep, the blessing of children who will inherit a world where love is taught, not assumed. I pray for wisdom to navigate the storms that will inevitably come, for the strength to hold you up when you feel small, for the humility to admit when I am wrong. I ask to be a man, worthy of the tenderness you give so freely. And amidst these prayers, there is also deep gratitude, a gratitude that sometimes takes my breath away, because loving you has been like being given a second life. You turned ordinary afternoons into catechisms of joy. You taught my hands how to craft a home out of laughter and small rituals, the way you prefer your tea, the way you wrinkle your nose when you are thinking, the particular music that lifts you out of sadness. These details, baby, are the scripture of us. I memorize them, like verses I never want to forget. Do you remember that night we fought and the silence afterward felt like a desert between us? I remember that night like a scar that taught me how to heal. I learned then that love is not merely the accumulation of easy moments, but the courage to face hardship without losing sight of each other. I sat with my stubbornness and watched it soften, because I saw how much your pain mirrored my own. I made mistakes. I will make more, perhaps, because I am human, but I will never stop trying to be better for you. I will never stop choosing repair and reconciliation, because your peace is a treasure I would cross oceans for. Family will sometimes test our resolve. There will be traditions that rub against our new rituals. There will be advice given with love that feels like judgment. There will be expectations we did not ask for. When those days come, I vow to stand with you, not above you. I will listen to your fears about the people who raised you, and I will meet them with reverence. I will not undermine what they gave you. I will add to it with respect. If we must change their minds, we will do it with patience and warmth, proving by our constancy that love can be an invitation, not an accusation. Baby, I owe you honesty about the future, because it is what you deserve. There will be seasons of plenty and seasons of want. There will be mornings where laughter comes easy and nights where the weight presses heavy. But through it all, I want you to know the contour of my commitment. I will be present. Presence is the offering I can give you that costs nothing and means everything. I will show up not only when it is glamorous, but when it is ordinary. When the dishes need washing, when paperwork needs sorting, when someone needs to be driven to a hospital, when bills arrive like small storms at the door. I will be the hands that steady you, the arms that keep you warm, the voice that reminds you of who you are when the world tries to tell you otherwise. I will cultivate a patience that is active, a patience that builds rather than waits. I will cultivate a patience that is active, a patience that builds rather than wait. I will teach by example that love is daily labor, and in that labor we will find our glory. Listen, baby, to this. I believe in second chances, because you gave me my first real one, a chance to love without pretense. You made me understand that being loved is not the end of my story, but the beginning of a truer life. I want to grow old with you, in the way that our faces will be wrinkled and our jokes will be softer, in the way our hands will remember each other by touch alone. Listen to me, Elliot. I want to sit with you on a porch that knows our weight, eating fruit that tastes sweeter because it has been shared. I want to be the kind of man who, when troubles come, does not flinch but leans in, because he knows that leaning into love is the bravest thing. Destiny has brought us together, yes, but destiny without deliberate action is a fairy tale. We must write the chapters with our own ink. We must lay bricks of trust, plant gardens of mutual respect, and harvest forgiveness when the weeds of resentment creep in. I choose this work, baby. I choose you. If you feel this, baby, if these words land in the hollow places of your heart and find there an echo, type in the comments, baby, I choose destiny, and tell me one small thing you want us to build together. Baby, do you know what still astonishes me? It is not just the day I first fell in love with you, but the endless ways I keep falling every single day. It is as though love with you has no bottom, no finish line, no ceiling. It just keeps expanding, like the sky after a storm. I once believed that love was a single event, a thunderclap moment that strikes once and then fades into memory. But you, baby, you taught me that love is not an event. It is a lifetime of remembering. I remember the way you tilt your head when you listen, how your eyes soften like dawn when you are thinking of something tender, the way your voice sometimes trembles when you say words that matter. These are small things, but they are the entire universe to me. They remind me that love is not found in grand gestures alone, but in the tiny details that build a cathedral inside the heart. Baby, you are my cathedral, the sacred space I enter with reverence, knowing that in your presence, my soul kneels without even trying. I think often about destiny and how it must have been working quietly while I was lost in my own darkness. Before you, I walked hallways that echoed with regret. I made choices that left my spirit heavy. There were nights I thought I would never rise again, that maybe my life would just be a repetition of mistakes and shallow victories. And then you appeared, not as a savior, not as a distraction, but as destiny in flesh. You didn't rescue me. You reminded me that I could rescue myself because someone finally saw me as worth saving. Maybe your presence became a mirror, showing me the man I was, but also the man I could become. Loving you became my transformation. I surrendered the old versions of me, one by one, like leaves falling in autumn. I let go of arrogance. I let go of denial. I let go of the false strength that kept me from being tender. Each piece that fell away revealed a truer me, the one who only wanted to love you better. Regret still whispers sometimes. It tells me I wasted too many years not knowing you, too many days letting fear hold me back. But then love answers regret with its steady voice. You met her exactly when you were meant to. And I believe that, baby, divine timing is real. If we had met too early, I might not have had the strength to hold you with the care you deserve. If we had met too late, my soul might have been too tired to try again. But now we are here, in this moment, exactly when the universe intended us to collide. And for that, I bow to the unseen hands that arranged our meeting. You are proof to me that destiny is not just a word whispered in stories. It is a living, breathing force that shapes life. Baby, I want to tell you something I rarely admit. Before you, I was afraid of family. Not because I didn't want it, but because I didn't believe I deserved it. I feared repeating the cycles I had seen, feared failing the people I loved, feared being inadequate as a man, a partner, a protector. But with you, the fear has been replaced with longing. Now I daydream about the sound of small feet running through a house filled with our laughter. I imagine dinners where our children roll their eyes at our old jokes, where your smile across the table becomes my sanctuary after long days. I see us aging, but in that aging there is beauty, because every wrinkle on our faces will be a story of how we chose each other again and again. Baby, you made me believe that family is not a burden or a duty. It is a blessing, a gift that love multiplies, and I want that gift with you. There are nights when surrender becomes the only prayer I know. I surrender my plans, my fears, my pride, and I whisper to the heavens, guide me so that I may guide her, heal me so that I may never harm her, make me worthy of the love she pours into me. And baby, every time I surrender, I feel peace. Because surrender does not mean weakness, it means trust. Trust that our love is stronger than any storm. Trust that the divine timing of our story will always work in our favor, even when we cannot see the whole picture. And trust, most of all, that my heart, flawed as it is, will never stop beating for you. Baby, your love has turned me into a poet of my own life. Even silence becomes music when you are near. Even pain becomes a teacher when it is shared with you. You are the one who has shown me that joy is not fragile, that it can withstand disappointment and still bloom again. Transformation, surrender, regret, love, family, destiny. All of these words find their true meaning only because of you. Without you, they are abstract ideas. With you, they are the fabric of my soul. And so, baby, let me tell you again, I first fell in love with you in that unexplainable instant of recognition. But I keep falling in love with you every single day after. Each morning your existence is new to me. Each evening your name is still the sweetest prayer on my lips. And I know this will never end. Not in this lifetime, not in the next. For you are not just the love of my life. You are my life itself. If you feel this, baby, and your heart knows what mine is saying, type in the comments, baby, I surrender to love, and let me know how love has transformed you too. Baby, there are times when language feels too small for what I carry for you, and yet I will try. Not because words can finish or contain this love, but because speaking it aloud makes it more real between us. Tonight I will speak like a man who has been shaped by storms and healed by a single soft glance. I want you to know the depth of the work that loving you has asked of me, the quiet reckonings, the late night promises I make into my pillow, the mornings I wake grateful and terrified in the same breath, because the magnitude of you humbles me. Loving you has been an excavation, baby, a tender dig into the places I thought were barren, revealing roots of fear, chambers of stubbornness, and underneath, the gold of what might be if I let it. I have dug, and I will keep digging, because each layer I uncover becomes a place to plant something new for us. Patience, an open ear, humility, reverence. There is a weight to regret that I carry, but it is not a chain meant to shackle us. It is a map. I carry the memory of the things I wish I had done differently, as if they are signposts telling me where to walk more carefully. Once, when I failed to show up in a way you needed, I learned how devastating absence can be. That memory lives in me like a low ember that warms and warms. It has taught me to answer quicker, to kneel sooner, to say the sorry that feels like medicine. I do not try to erase that ember. Instead, I use it to cook the meals of who I am becoming. cooked with honesty, served with consistency. Baby, if I could press my heart open and show you the syllabus of the lessons I've studied since meeting you, you would see page after page of failure and repair, of learning to apologize before pride says otherwise, of practicing the art of presence until it is no longer labor but instinct. This is my promise, that regret will not be the place where we stop. Regret will be the place where we begin again, more tender than before. Love with you has demanded a surrender that is holy and strange. It is not the surrender of giving up myself to become nothing. It is the surrender that opens me up to become something greater than I was alone. I lay down certain weapons, the rigid need to always be right, the performance of stoicism, the hurried answers that mask listening, and in that laying down, I find space to practice awe. Baby, I have learned to watch you with patience, to let you finish your sentences without thinking of how I will respond, to hear the rhythm of your sorrow before I throw a blanket called solutions over it. So you know, this will be the top of my to-do. Oh, there is courage in this small unlearning. I find myself choosing the soft path even when the loud one promises quicker victories. Choosing you often means choosing the slow and ordinary rituals, showing up when you are tired, letting you sleep in while I make tea, learning how to carry sadness like a shared garment rather than a burden you must wear alone. These are not small things. They are the scaffolding of a life built together. Family, baby. The word tastes like music and history. I know your family did not simply hand you to the world. They shaped you with prayers and habits and the small ironies of upbringing. I understand now that to love you is to enter a network of stories older than us. Stories that sometimes comfort and sometimes constrict. I do not enter those stories to rewrite them in my image. I enter them to listen, to learn, and to honor. I want to know the names your grandmother used for you, the foods that make your childhood feel like home, the sayings that still live in your mind like little ghosts of counsel. I want to stand beside you in the noisy festivals and the quiet weekdays, to let your family see the reverence in my eyes. That reverence is not theatrical, it is earnest. I want to earn trust slowly, by doing the dishes without being asked, by showing up to Sunday dinners even when my work tugs at me, by remembering dates that matter to them. There will be times when we must navigate old wounds together, and in those moments, I will be both soft and brave. Soft because your pain deserves gentleness. Brave because some things will require speaking up for the good of our future. Family is not an obstacle. It is a village we will learn to walk through lovingly. Destiny, baby, is a strange companion, equal parts comfort and challenge. Sometimes I catch myself imagining our lives as if they were already finished novels, their pages smoothed by time, the plot neatly resolved. But life is not a closed book. It is a manuscript we keep editing with our choices. Destiny gave us the meeting, perhaps, but it did not sign our chapters for us. We are still authors here. I have learned to respect that tenderness by not romanticizing struggle into fate and not hiding from responsibility behind the excuse of what is meant to be. Divine timing placed you in my orbit, yes, but it also calls me to daily work, to be the man who prunes away what harms, plants what nourishes, and waters what is fragile. I will show up to this calling with both reverence and labor. I will say yes to the tasks, the boring, the beautiful, the messy, because they are the discipline that makes destiny steady. Transformation arrives slowly, as transformations do, until one morning I realized my reflection looked more like the man I wanted to be. Not perfect, never perfect, but closer to the steady, reliable soul I imagined when I first whispered promises to myself about a life worth giving away. Love with you is the kiln that reshapes hardness into form, where my edges are sanded by patience and my roughness is polished by vulnerability. I find new rituals forming, the habit of asking you how you are, even when the day is crowded. The discipline of listening not just for words, but for the ache behind them. The delight in celebrating small wins with the extravagant gratitude they deserve. Transformation is not dramatic in our everyday. It is quiet. It is in the way I now wait with you in doctors' rooms, in the way I read your childhood letters like holy texts, in the way I learn to cook your favorite dish, even if it requires burning a few attempts. These small acts accumulate into a life that looks like promise kept. Regret returns sometimes like a night wind, but it is gentler now. It teaches me to prepare better, to anticipate your needs before they become requests, to make peace with the parts of my past I cannot change, by using them to inform how I love you now. I carry the stories of my failures as instruction manuals for how to do better. I have learned, for instance, that loving you means allowing you to be angry without shrinking. It means making space for your silence without filling it with explanations meant to redeem me. It means learning the difference between fixing and being with. Those distinctions matter. They are the grammar of care. And because I have learned them, I have grown less afraid of the difficult conversations. I sit in them with you. I do not run, baby. Sometimes I think about the future in cinematic bursts, the sounds of our home, the scent of bread, the argument over trivial things that will one day read like an old, tender script. But then I remember to breathe and let the future be made of small commitments. I will teach our children how to apologize with real remorse, how to say thank you like it matters, how to love with boundaries that protect their hearts. I will teach them that sex is not the only language of closeness, and that kindness can be stronger than charisma. I will teach them that men can be tender without losing their strength, and that women can be fierce without losing their softness. These are the lessons I want to pass forward, not through speeches, but through my everyday choices. I will show them how to be present, how to plant, how to repair a fence, how to sit through the storms. I will show them how to love. There are moments when I imagine our last years together, sitting in a slow porch light, our conversations stripped of pretense, laughter that is deepened into marrow. I imagine our hands mapped with lines of shared labor, our photographs slightly yellowed, our arguments now a repertoire of gentle corrections. I imagine us being proud of the scars, because they are proof we survived and chose each other again. This is not nostalgia for what is not yet done. It is a pledge. It is the secret anchor I keep in my chest to remind me why the work matters. Love is fragile when taken for granted, but fierce when chosen. I will choose you in the dull hours and the bright, because you have shown me that the choosing itself is the miracle. Baby, I do not promise that everything will be easy. Convenience will not always be on our side. Life will put temptations and hardships in our paths. There will be days when we are tired of trying, But I promise this, when those days come, I will hold on. I will treat our vows as living things that require feeding. I will not look for the exit when the weather turns cold. I will look for ways to light a fire. I will not trade us for the mirage of an easier life. I will be stubborn in my fidelity. I will be inventive in my devotion. I will be honest when I fail, and relentless in my repair. If these words touch the corners of your heart, baby, if you feel the echo of this confession like a second heartbeat, type in the comments, baby, I will choose us. And tell me one small thing you want me to start doing tomorrow to show my love for you. Baby, when I sit with the quiet of the night and let my mind unspool the memories we have stitched together, it feels like watching a slow, sacred film whose scenes I wish would never end. I trace each frame with the reverence of a man who knows what was given to him and what must be guarded. Loving you has taught me a humility I did not have language for before. Not the humbling that breaks a man, but the softening that makes him more useful, more tender, more true. There is an altar inside my chest where I lay down the small private offerings of myself. A song I learned badly, a promise I write in a margin, the patience of waiting while you decide. These are not performative. They are the quiet currency of our life together. I want you to know that every small thing I do for you is a poem in motion. Every mundane act a line of devotion. When I fix the faucet so your hands do not get wet, or when I fold your coat the way you like it, I am not merely doing chores. I am practicing love. Baby, regret still walks beside me like an old friend who knows my history better than I do. It comes not to condemn, but to remind. I regret the times I valued being seen as a success more than being present for you. I regret letting work voices drown out the softer questions of the home. I regret not always being brave enough to say the things that needed saying, to step forward when your eyes asked me to. Those regrets are not dead weight. They are teachers who sharpen my humility and make my apologies more honest. I have learned that the truest apology is a changed life, not poetic words. I will therefore labor at repair until my actions are louder than my regrets, and I will do so because your peace matters more than my ego. I have learned to trade the brittle armor of pride for the warm, living armor of accountability. That trade has cost me illusions, but it has made my love more durable. Love with you asks me to surrender in ways that feel like both a falling and a rising. Surrender here is not resignation. It is a conscious lowering of the barriers that once kept me safe from intimacy. I have let the guard down not because I am naive, but because I have chosen the risk of you over the safety of solitude. To surrender to you means I will sometimes be vulnerable in front of people who might misunderstand me. It means I will show the ugly parts and trust you to cherish the rest. It means that in the middle of our smallest arguments, I will remember the larger story we are writing together and choose reconciliation over victory. There is something holy in that choosing, baby. I say holy because it is rare in a world that monetizes speed and applauds bravado. In choosing you, I choose the slow, the meaningful, the sacrament of everyday devotion. I choose to show up for the quiet appointments of our futures, the dentist visits, the tax forms, the nights when one of us cannot sleep and needs the other to breathe with them until calm return. Family, oh baby, family has taught me the hardest lessons and the softest mercies. I have watched you carry histories like folded letters pressed close to the heart. I have learned how to approach those pages with reverence, how to handle them gently, because they contain people whose love for you shaped you into the miracle you are. I promise to steward that inheritance with care. I do not come to challenge the sacred stories of your kin. I come to add a line that honors them, that builds upon their foundation rather than erases it. I want to be the man who attends the long dinners, who learns the names of the cousins you mention in passing, who waits patiently when old narratives need kindness to soften. I will become fluent in the dialects of their love, so that when I stand beside you, I stand not as an intruder, but as someone who understands the context of your tenderness. When family friction arrives, as it inevitably will, I will not flee. I will be courageous and compassionate. I will not diminish your loyalties. I will expand them with consistent, respectful action. Destiny, baby, has a poet's irony. I used to think destiny was a dramatic thing marked by fireworks and celestial signs, a plot twist written by fate to amaze the world. Loving you taught me that destiny is quieter and more demanding. It is the long, patient folding of ordinary days into an extraordinary life. Destiny gave us a meeting, but destiny is not passive. It beckons us to act rightly in the places we stand. It asks us to be present for the small duties that make up a shared life. When storms come, and they will, destiny will not save us unless we show up to rebuild. So, I will show up. I will attend to the architecture of us with painstaking, stubborn devotion. I will be the hand that steadies ladders, the voice that steadies hearts, the feet that go out at dawn to fetch milk when the house remembers hunger. These are mundane things, baby, but destiny is made of them. Transformation has been my witness. There was a time when I thought change would announce itself with trumpet blasts. Instead, transformation has come like a slow seep of color into an old painting, until one day I look up and the image is different, truer. Loving you has been the art of becoming, letting certain parts of me soften while others gain clarity. Ego has shrunk in some rooms, while compassion has expanded in others. I find myself less interested in proving and more interested in building. I have learned the humility of making requests instead of demands, of suggesting rather than insisting. I have learned to let silence be a tool for listening rather than a weapon for withholding. If this is growth, then I welcome the work with open hands. I will keep honing myself because our life requires it. I will read to learn. I will seek counsel when pride clouds judgment, and I will keep choosing repair when I fail. Transformation is not a finish line. It is a long apprenticeship. I gladly accept for the sake of you. There is a vulnerability to hope that both frightens and steadies me. Hope is not a naive optimism, but a disciplined faith that insists on continuity in the face of entropy. I hope for the ordinary miracles, for hands that still fit together after decades, for mornings that begin with the same lazy grin, for disagreements that end in found laughter rather than carved distance. I hope for a life where our children, if we are blessed with them, will recognize in us a sacred model that two imperfect humans can build something that feels like shelter. I hope to be the father who listens more than lectures, the husband who models apology not as weakness but as strength. I hope to leave behind not only wealth but habits, rituals of gratitude, the habit of nightly check-ins, the practice of celebrating small victories. These are the things I want to pass on, the quiet inheritance of people who loved well, regret, love, surrender, family, destiny, transformation. These words are scaffolding for the human edifice I am trying to build with you. They are not metaphors to be used loosely. They are commitments to be lived. I am aware that words can be cheap in a time when the world prizes spectacle. Therefore, I will not only speak them, but make them visible by daily fidelity. I want to be the man whose life forms sentences in action, whose promises are sentences made flesh. When I say I will be there, mean it. When I say I love you, let my life be proof. When I say I regret, let reparation arrive sooner than the next sunrise. Sometimes I imagine us in the small future where our hair is touched with mercy's silver and we laugh at the stories we once thought enormous. I imagine telling our grandchildren about the stubborn, hopeful things that kept us together. I imagine them rolling their eyes at our earnestness, but later holding on to those teachings like a compass. These imaginings are not illusions. They are the scaffolding of intention. I place them in the world not to avoid the present, but to give the present shape. I want to be intentional with you. I want each decision to be a brick, each apology to be mortar, each joy a window that lets light into our home. I will plan, but I will also learn to bend when life insists on a different architecture. Flexibility will be our strength, not our defeat. If you have read this and felt even a whisper of the truth I am trying to hold, baby, if these paragraphs have found a home in you like sunlight finds a seed, then give me the small gift of your voice in the comments. Type, baby, build with me, and tell me one ritual you want us to start tonight that will help us grow closer every day. Baby, sometimes in the hush before dawn, I find my thoughts returning to you like tide to shore, inevitable, steady, and full of secrets. I want to tell you the things that live in my chest in sentences long enough to wrap around the moon, because short phrases feel dishonest to what you deserve. Love with you has taught me to speak slowly and to listen longer. It has taught me that the melody of a life together is made from many small notes held until they bloom. I remember the first time I realized that loving you would change everything. It was not a thunderclap, but a soft rearrangement of the furniture inside me. A vase tipped, a curtain drawn back, and in that small catastrophe I saw sunlight where I had expected none. You have been light to me, baby. Not the harsh kind that blinds, but the kind that warms and reveals textures I had learned to ignore. Under your light, I noticed the colors of ordinary days and learned to keep them sacred. Regret follows me like a shadow that lengthens at evening. It is honest and sometimes loud, but it is also useful, because from regret I harvest promises. I regret the ways I once equated busyness with worth, how I mistook absence for strength, how I let small cruelties, a clipped word, a delayed call, a distracted look, wedge between us. Those things are not trivial. They are fissures that can become rivers if ignored, though I have chosen to become a man who tends the margins before the center needs saving. I practice the small courtesies that became revolutionary in the quiet of our life, showing up not because I am forced, but because I am committed. Listening not to formulate my defense, but to hold your heart as if it were glass. Apologizing without explanation, because sometimes a sorry is the bridge that returns us to shore. Regret has taught me humility. Not the kind that shows off moral superiority, but the real kind that kneels and rewrites behavior. I'll labor at this, baby, every day, until my actions speak more eloquently than my words ever could. Surrender with you is the beautiful paradox I did not expect. It is both letting go and grabbing hold of the truest thing. Surrender does not mean giving up my personhood. It means offering it as a gift that can be held, examined, and loved. I have surrendered my stubbornness when your peace required it. I have surrendered my need to control when your freedom begged for room. There is a bravery in that surrender because it asks me to be vulnerable when vulnerability was once scarier than any battlefield I had known. I learned to wear softness like armor, baby. Soft in my approach, steadfast in my commitments. This surrender has made me more honest, because without the shield of always being right, I had to find voice in honesty, and honesty made room for deeper intimacy. I am not hollowed out by this process. I am fuller. I'm fuller because I no longer carry pretense. I carry our shared truth, which is the heaviest and lightest thing I have ever known. Family arises in my prayers with names and faces, and the small rituals that make up lineage. I think about the hands that shaped you, the stories told in your childhood home, the songs that stitched your days together. I understand more and more that loving you means loving that history, the quiet heroics of your mother, the stubborn gentleness of your father, the little cousins who argued over sweets and taught you how to guard your heart. I do not wish to replace any of that. I wish to add a new verse that tells them, I am here to keep what they valued and to love what they protected. There will be negotiations and misunderstood silences, and there will be times when I will stand in the middle of family storms, unsure how best to help. In those moments, know that my aim will always be to protect your dignity and to honor your lineage. I will learn names slowly and remember anniversaries clumsily at first, but with a will that will not quit. Because to love you is to inherit the tender duty of caring for the people who loved you into being. Destiny, baby, is not the enemy of effort. It is its companion. I used to imagine destiny as a finished painting hung on a wall, immutable and beautiful. But loving you taught me that destiny is more like a garden we tend. It responds to our hands. It needs pruning and weeding, and sometimes we must plant where it seems barren. Divine timing arranged our meeting, but divine timing also calls us to patient cultivation. There will be seasons when the soil feels hard and unyielding, and those are the seasons that ask for our faith more than our sight. When I say I trust divine timing, it is not a passive phrase. It is a vow to keep working even when growth is slow. I will keep sowing kindness, keep pulling out the weeds of anger, keep watering with forgiveness, because I believe in the future that a patient love can build. Destiny gave us a beginning. Our hands will write the rest. Transformation has been the slowest, most generous miracle of loving you. The man I was before you carried trophies of surviving, but not of thriving. He was applauded for endurance, but hardly ever thanked for tenderness. You made tenderness into a discipline I wanted to practice. Baby, as I come to the last words of this long confession, I feel both full and emptied. Full because I have poured everything I know of love into these lines, and emptied because I have given it all, without keeping anything hidden. You deserve nothing less. My love for you has been a pilgrimage, from regret into surrender, from surrender into transformation, from transformation into a destiny that feels like home. Each step has carried me closer to the truth, that life without you is merely survival, but life with you is devotion. Baby, I want to protect this love, the way a guardian protects fire on a cold night, shielding it from winds, feeding it with wood, sitting near it so it never goes out. I want to cover you in prayers each night before sleep, prayers that no harm will find you, that your path will be lit with clarity, that your heart will always know how precious it is. You are my sacred responsibility, not because I own you, but because I am honored to care for what heaven has entrusted me with. I confess, baby, that sometimes I feel unworthy of you, not because I doubt my love, but because your grace toward me is so endless, so patient, that I can only bow my head and thank the one who made us. Yet, even in my unworthiness, I promise you this: my devotion will be your shield, my arms will be your refuge, my words will be your reassurance. My prayers will be the invisible walls that guard your spirit. Every morning, I will bless you quietly. Every night, I will surrender you to divine protection. And every day in between, I will stand by your side as proof that love is not just spoken, but lived. Our story, baby, is not one of perfection. It is one of persistence. We may stumble, but we will rise. We may cry, but we will heal. We may argue, but we will always return to the table of forgiveness. That is the covenant I make with you, that no matter what storms arrive, my love will not retreat. My love will fight. My love will mend. My love will remain. Because you are not just my partner, you are my destiny, my prayer answered, my miracle embodied. And so, baby, let me offer you this prayer of protection, a prayer for us, for our love, for the future we are building. May our bond be guarded by heaven's hand. May no envy or darkness steal what was given by light. May our home be filled with laughter louder than sorrow, and may our nights be wrapped in peace deeper than fear. May every shadow flee at the sound of our unity, and may our love grow stronger with each sunrise. Baby, may you always feel safe in my heart, and may I always be strong enough to honor the sacred gift of you. Baby, I want to end these words with gratitude. Gratitude for your patience in hearing me. Gratitude for your love, which remakes me daily. Gratitude for this community of souls who listen and support. To everyone who has been touched by this message, if your heart feels moved, if you have found hope or healing here, your prayers and your super thanks keep this love alive, spreading to every corner where someone needs it. If you feel this prayer belongs to you too, baby, type in the comments, "Baby, I am protected by love." And to those who sow into this message with super thanks, know that your kindness is seen, felt, and cherished. You are part of the blessing that keeps this flame burning. Beloved soul, if these words resonated with you, carry them as your own. Love is not just between two people. It is the current that moves through us all. Protect your love, guard it, nurture it, and never be afraid to pray over it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for every prayer, every comment, every gift of super thanks that sustains this channel. May your heart be safe, your path be guided, and your spirit always know it is worthy of divine love.